All right, hello guys. It's your boy Mr. Tibbs coming back at ya with those shit tier meme videos on the internet. So, where the fuck have the meme videos been, boys? I don't know, man. Well, to tell you the truth, there's a lot of reasons why I haven't been uploading the last couple days. Unfortunately, part of that was that we've been trying to get some Cossacks 3 multiplayer for you, but the multiplayer has just been so buggy, and we've been spending like 5 hours on it a day. And so that's been really, cutting into whether or not I have good content. And the one video that I did have ready to go, apparently, when I updated my NVIDIA stuff, apparently it changed the settings again. So, unfortunately, I had no dialogue in it. It just was using the wrong microphone input. So, I didn't have a video, which sucks ass and is a pain in the ass because I had already uploaded it and then I had to take it down, and some of you may have seen it, and I want you to know that if you saw it, you're special, because I took it down in like 15 minutes, so not a lot of you did, but if you did, you're pretty dank, because you're watching my videos like as soon as they come out. Yeah, there's that, and also I've been moving, so that's kind of also made it a little bit harder to record stuff. I'm house sitting a property right now, so I've kind of actually got my own place for about a month. So we'll have some nice quality videos during that time, and I can swear and be as fucking loud as I like, which is great. So anyways, this is going to be a story time video, so I should probably answer some of the questions you guys have been asking in the fucking comments. First one that I have here is from Mega Ogre, because there seems to be like very few people that actually ask me questions. It's kind of the same few guys every time. So he asks, how did you come up with Filmmaker Academy? His English isn't perfect, and that's okay. And what made me choose this path? Well, how did I get started with film? Well, when, there was a time in my life, kind of before high school, where, I was thinking that, I wanted to go into game design actually, and, make video games. And, I also did a lot of photography back in those days, and obviously right now photography is my full-time job, which I then supplement with having the other full-time job of doing YouTube videos every day, which is a lot of fun. But, even though it's a lot of work, I enjoy myself. But, yeah, so for a long time I didn't really know what I was going to do. There was actually a time where I thought I was going to join the military and maybe be a pilot. But, I don't know. I was always drawn back to this idea of like creating stuff and, creating stories and stuff, because, all throughout my life, as far back as I can remember, I've loved movies, I've loved reading, I've loved, playing games, because there's these deep stories, and they can make you feel something, and they can, they create this narrative. And, they leave you changed. They leave this imprint on you that, stays with you for the rest of your life. And, I guess, I don't know, maybe it's, there's that whole, draw to everybody where we all want to leave like a legacy, whether that be for just, our kids, or, something that we want the whole world to see and, be able to change thousands and thousands of people's lives. And I guess, that draw was always in me to, maybe make something that, I could show off and, be like, maybe change people's lives. And I guess it was about, I was going into high school, and it just so happened that this high school that I was going to had one of the only film programs, not just in our city, but in our entire province. And, this really drew me to this program. And, I went into it because, I thought it would be a lot of fun to, like, learn about filmmaking and, learn about, this stuff, because, I've always loved films. That was always another one of my passions, is I always enjoyed watching movies, like, as long as I can remember. I remember watching, like, the Transporters series and, like, all kinds of action movies and all kinds of stuff with my parents when I was younger. And just, I don't know, it's always been a part of my life. And, I remember, like, I enjoyed the class, the first half of the class, which was primarily, the, analyzing films and, just looking at how things are made and, how, certain effects and, all this kind of stuff is used and, what it means overall. But in the second half of the semester, we were actually put on crews and we were allowed to make our own projects. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to make my own project that year because it was kind of there was a voting system where everybody would pitch an idea. And then, we would have a secret vote where we'd pick, I think it was like our top 3. And, the highest out of everybody would get picked, and their projects would get picked, and then everybody would fill in the roles that they wanted. So that particular season, my film didn't get picked. It was, I'm gonna just try and remember it off the top of my head. I believe the idea was that it was like supposed to be kind of like this idea. It centered around this kind of cyclical nature of like, how gambling is addictive, and how it's like a cycle of gambling, and like people will gamble and gamble and gamble until they have nothing left. And so sort of the idea was that it was this guy who was, pretty good at gambling, and his friend gets captured by the mafia because, his friend has, all kinds of gambling debt and shit, and, it's, they're going to sell him for organs because, that's the only way they see that they can make the money back from him, because he's not winning the money back. He doesn't have any talent at it. So then the protagonist has to enter a high stakes poker tournament to enter, and try and win back this stuff, and, try and win it back. And at the last, and he's winning and he's winning and he's winning. And the idea is in the end, he actually ends up losing. He's won all this money and he ends up losing. And, his friend gets sold for organs. And, then the idea was at the very end, have it be a mirror scene to the opening scene of the film, which the idea was to have the opening scene be the friend getting kidnapped. And, the protagonist is walking down the street in this final scene, wearing the same kind of outfit. I was thinking like a black hoodie because, everybody's got black hoodies, and, it's kind of an easy thing to do. But yeah, so the idea was, that at the end, it's just mirroring it. And, obviously, like, it would be too on the cuff if I were to actually have him, like, get kidnapped like his friend did. But just, like, this mirror of, like, how he's kind of in the same situation as his friend was, and how, how that works. And I don't know, I thought it was kind of cool, but that's not what ended up getting picked. And I've totally sidetracked and, like, killed another 2 minutes. But anyways, so the idea was... back to that. I ended up working as, we were working in groups of 4. We would have a sound engineer, an editor, a director, and a cinematographer. That particular year, I was working as a cinematographer, so I was behind the camera, and having a lot of experience with photography, I kind of knew what I was doing, and all that good stuff. So that that goes on for a while, and I'm just realizing that I'm just having so much fun. Like it, doesn't feel like work. And it's just like, it's a ton of fun because, your work, even then, even though I was working with a lot of people who were, perhaps not as interested in film as I was or am today, we were having fun and, it was a nice group project. It wasn't one of those shit tier group projects where everybody was at their fucking throats and shit. Well, there was a little bit of that, but that's not a big deal. But, I was just having so much fun. And, we created this really cool project and, people really liked it. And it was kind of like, why don't I do this? People do this all the time. There's people who make their livings like this, even Raffle with his YouTube videos. That's his full-time job, and, every day he gets up and he does his YouTube videos, I don't know if that's, the path that I'm going to go down specifically. I think I'll keep doing it maybe as on the side. But I'm also going to try it as well as, work on bigger sets and, work on these bigger projects because, you can touch people with gaming and, you can make people's lives better. But I think it's a lot easier to, kind of give these messages that I want to show through more traditional art forms. And I don't know, who knows what the cinematography and, filmmaking landscape is going to look like in 5-10 years when I'm really starting to get, maybe established in the the community and get working in the industry. Because even today, we're seeing more and more interesting projects coming out, like Hardcore Henry, which was the first ever entirely first person movie and was really good. Actually, I really enjoyed it. Or a lot of what people are doing on YouTube with the 360 degree videos. I think those are really cool as well. This kind of idea of being able to do it in VR and VR filmmaking, what's going to come with that. I'm really excited to see what happens with that in the next 10-15 years. It's going to be the market and the technology is changing at such a fast rate. And this was even a problem before, like it's been a struggle throughout all of history, cinema or filmmaking history, that the technology is advancing so quickly that the art is struggling to keep up, because there's so many technological advancements. We've got all kinds of cool equipment nowadays to make stuff. You've got these steady cams, you've got dollies, you've got crane arms, you've got jib arms, you've got all kinds of cool stuff that you can work with. You've got CGI, and you've got all this stuff. And a lot of people complain about CGI because they feel like it stands out too much from the movie. And in an argument that has been made a lot is that you only see bad CGI. And I think that's a large part of the reason why we see so much bad CGI is people are pushing the technology when they should be pushing it for its how it can increase the narrative and build it. And that's going to come with time as people become more and more accustomed to CGI and get more comfortable with it. It's going to become less about how can we create this cool new showcase of our CGI technology, and instead it's going to become how can we use CGI to create a better narrative. And I'm excited to see it when it gets to that point. And it has been that point. There's a lot of stuff like that. Benjamin Button, that movie has a lot of CGI in it that a lot of people don't think about, but it looks great and it meshes well because it's not trying to be all up in your face about it. It's it understands what it needs to do and it does it well. And in an unpopular opinion, even the Michael Bay movies, the Transformer movies, of course there's the kind of more obvious CGI like the robots and shit, but a lot of his explosions and a lot of the trucks and stuff flipping and all that kind of stuff, that's also CGI. And it becomes less a question of sorry, I should say that the CGI that he uses to push the story forward, and like instead of using it as set pieces where it's like just less apparent, but these are just as hard to do as the big like in your face robots. But it just it's there, but it's not saying, hey, I'm here, look at me. And that's another argument that a lot of CGI artists talk about and make, is that if they do their job well, you should never know that they were there. If you stop while you're watching a movie and you say, hey, that's CGI, or even like, hey, that's a cool piece of CGI, right there, you're out of the experience. And that's what they're trying to avoid, is they don't want you to think about the CGI. Because thinking about the CGI means that you're not immersed in the story. And that's generally the goal, is immersion. So yeah. So that's fun. Wow, I've talked a really long time about that. I'm not sure if fuck it, let's do another one. So I've got one from Simply No. Hey, maybe I should simply kill myself instead of making these videos. No, I'm kidding. He asks, also, what was the stupidest thing you did while drinking? Everyone has them stories, and they are always entertaining. Well, it's my most interesting drinking story is less a story about me and more about the friends that I had at the time while I was drinking. I think I was I think I was actually DDing that day because I think I had to work the next morning. But I remember it was like, I think it was like 2 a.m. and all my friends are pissed drunk at this point. And somebody says, "Hey, let's go get some McDonald's." And I'm like, "All right, sure, why not?" So I think it's like February, and it's me and like 3 of the most drunk ass fucking people you have ever seen. They are just fucking plastered. They're a drink away from fucking passing out. So they want food. So we get in the car and we start driving over. So first, the first incident of the ride was that they were drawing dicks on my windows in the frost because I live in Canada, so there's frost on the windows, and that never really comes off during the winter. You kind of just scrape off a large enough hole to see through, and then you just leave the rest because you're not going to spend 3 hours cleaning your car every day. So they were doing that, and then one of them gets the smart idea to open one of my windows, and I don't know why he decided to do that, but he opens the window and I'm like, "Dude, it's super cold out. Fucking close the window." And he goes to close the window and the window won't come back up. So we're driving to McDonald's, we're like 10 minutes away. The window is stuck down and they're like struggling trying to like grab it and like pull it up while using the motors because it's fucking minus 40 in February here, like minus 40 is that point on the Celsius and Fahrenheit scale where they actually meet. So if no matter what, like system you're using, minus 40 is minus 40. And people who know what minus 40 feels like knows that it's really fucking cold. And, like everything starts to slow down when that happens. So like, the windows are like, like the mechanisms to lift the windows are like frozen. They're like trying to like pull the window up. They eventually did manage to get it closed, thankfully. Otherwise, we would have frozen to death on the way to fucking McDonald's. But we get there, and as we're probably like a couple blocks away, one of the drunker people in the car, in the backseat, decides that he's gonna get up, he's gonna unbuckle himself and climb into my trunk because like it's like a hatchback, so like there's just space in the back behind the back seat where you can put shit. So he just crawls over the seat and into the trunk. And we get to the McDonald's drive-thru, and I open the window. Thankfully, we actually didn't have any trouble getting that one closed again. But I open the window and I start ordering for us. And this motherfucker, while we were doing this, decides that he's going to start screaming and yelling and pretending like we are, like we've kidnapped him. And we're just like trying to keep straight faces while we're ordering. And then we pull around to the front, and thankfully, it was like probably like a 20-year-old at the window. So I pull up like sheepishly while my friend's still fucking screaming bloody murder in the trunk. And I'm like, "I'm so sorry about him. He's drunk as hell and he's climbed into the back seat. So just don't mind him." And she's just laughing because like every once in a while I'm like turning around, I'm like shouting at him, "Get the fuck back in your seat, faggot." And we're just fucking, it was a fun time anyways. But yeah, so that's probably the dumbest shit that I've ever been a part of while I wasn't drunk, but drinking. I don't really have too many exciting super drunk stories because I don't know, I just tend to not get super drunk at parties. I kind of try and avoid it, primarily because the first time I ever really got drunk, I just got absolutely plastered and I was like sick for 2 days afterwards. So I've kind of it's taught me that, hey, let's not drink a shit ton. And probably the reason I got so sick was like I was mixing alcohol, like some of my family that live like out on the farms here, because it is like a farming, kind of area in Canada, had moonshine. So we were drinking that. We had rum, vodka, amaretto, and we were drinking all of this like at the same time. I think I also had some wine at one point that night. And, your body doesn't like it when you mix alcohol. Your body doesn't like alcohol at all. But when you mix alcohol, that gets even worse. So I was like, I was vomiting for like 2 days straight, and it was absolutely disgusting. So I kind of try and stick to, at most like 5 or 6, drinks a day or at a party. Usually, like, I stick to like 2 to 3, but like 5 or 6 is like the max I do, just because I don't really want to get sick as hell like that again, because that's not fun. So anyways, I think that's kind of going to cover everything that I wanted to talk about today. Oh, I don't know. Did I talk? I can't remember if I talked about Cossack 3 or not. Shit. Okay. So if I talked about Cossack 3, we're just going to end the video in the middle of this sentence. And if not, we'll be continuing. So the thing with Cossacks 3, and I think I was talking about how Cossacks 3 was fucking trash earlier, but the game is so fucking buggy, and I'm eating my words, because the version we played, like the pre-release version we played, didn't have like 3/4 of these bugs. And like we were only able to play like one multiplayer, or like I think it was actually even just like half a multiplayer match before we actually ran out of the devs shut down the servers that day, because we only had the game for like 5 or 6 hours before release, so we were all like rushing to make videos. And me and Ruffle decided, hey, let's do a multiplayer video, because a lot of people are probably just going to do single player videos. But so we end up making these videos saying, oh, this game's pretty good, it's a lot of fun. But no, just like the release version was just like a buggy piece of shit. Like there's so many things that weren't working. Like, they delayed the release like a couple hours, but there was no, there was no multiplayer at release, and when they did fix it, it was such a buggy piece of shit that, you would either crash trying to start multiplayer, or you'd crash like, 15 minutes into a multiplayer match. And that was really frustrating, because, we probably spent 7 or 8 hours trying to fix it. But anyways, there was that. And, like we couldn't make formations, which meant that every time we tried to play matches against the AI in multiplayer, we would just get absolutely fucking wrecked, because, for some reason, formations give you like a huge bonus to defense and attack. So, we would just get wrecked by the AI, because the AI could still form, formations. So we were pretty pissed, and there's just like, even like the single player was just so buggy. Like I haven't even finished a match in it yet, because I just keep bugging, like I keep crashing out because of bugs and shit. So overall, like if you are going to play Cossacks 3, I would suggest wait like 2 or 3 weeks, wait for the game to get finished, wait for them to clean it up, and then buy the game. Like, I don't know, man. Like, there's so much shit that should have been fixed beforehand. Like, all of the issues there. A-moving doesn't work. Like, you can't attack move. You have to, like, select a unit in their formation and then, like, attack it, and then you'll, like, attack everything else. But, like, it's just so awkward, because, like, the AI will, like, they can attack move properly. So it's like, you'll just get wrecked by the AI 9 times out of 10 unless you have way better units than them, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, just wait a couple weeks before you buy the game. They're doing patches like every day, like, probably 3 or 4 times a day. But, they're slowly patching out everything that's wrong. But, they've still got quite a ways to go. So just wait. They'll fix it in a couple weeks. So anyways, I think this is going to be the end of the video. If you guys have any other questions or things you want me to talk about, or, want me to answer, I'll either answer in the comments, as I do with some of the smaller questions, or like if it's a little bit of a larger question, I'll leave it for the video, and then I'll try and do a video on it. If you guys enjoy this series, just keep liking the videos. If you're, not a subscriber to me, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe, because, that really helps, it helps me to know that there are people who are interested in this and want to keep seeing this every week. And, I'm going to keep trying to do StarCraft and keep trying to do this, and I'm going to try and branch out into other RTS games, like as I've been doing with the Cossacks gameplay. So, as per usual, I have no idea how to do a fucking outro, so we're going to end it here.